Hey everybody, Sam Wiederhaft with you. Welcome back. I hope your Thanksgiving was a fun one. I certainly enjoyed mine. And now we're dialed back in for another episode of the Chant Pod. And guess what? We've got a sponsor now. Say hello to the Chant Pod presented by Revolution Mortgage. We're in those weird few weeks after Thanksgiving and before Christmas time. And guess what that means? We've got more hoops to talk about. We are sticking with Chanticleer women's basketball. And this time we're talking to the man in charge. Head coach Kevin Pederson is our guest on the podcast this week. He's in his third year at the helm, and the ladies are off to a rocket start. 5-1 to begin things before this weekend's matchup with Jacksonville State, and Coach gave us the ins and the outs of what has made his team so good early in the season. So let's dive right into it on the Chant Pod presented by Revolution Mortgage. Here's my conversation with women's basketball head coach Kevin Pederson. We have our first guest coach on the Chant Pod, presented by Revolution Mortgage. We have a sponsor now, and we're sticking with women's basketball because they've been so fun to watch this year. We're talking to the leader of the Chants, head coach Kevin Pederson. Coach, really appreciate the time today.
Yeah, good to see you, Sam. How are we doing?
Fantastic. How was the Thanksgiving? I know that it was last week,
great.
And you guys had some time off. How was that?
Yeah, well, I'll tell you what. Anytime you win the game before Thanksgiving, it always makes for better holidays. So, we came in, the girls were in a good mood. We had a nice win. So you come, you get a little time off, get to get some good food, and I think the rest is as hard as these young women work. And I think sometimes you forget. You start so early at this level. So some of these girls have been working since June. And so it's when you can get those breaks and steal 2 or 3 days here and there, you love to take them when you can.
You had some of your players go back home for Thanksgiving. What did you do? What was the Thanksgiving agenda for you?
Yes, I'm blessed. Our family came to us. So my wife's family came down. My son and daughter both came home. So I had a great Thanksgiving. It started with a round of golf in the morning. And I actually shot better than I do, so it was an atypical round. And then my wife made an incredible meal. So we ate really well. And then my son and daughter and I went out and played pickleball in the evening to work some of that food off. So you couldn't ask for a better day.
Really active.
Yeah, that's what I love. I love the activity days. If I just sit around and eat, it's not going to be pretty.
What are your favorite courses to play here in Myrtle Beach? There's so many to choose from.
So I live at Wild Wing, so I'm definitely partial to the Avocet Court at Wild Wing. So I play that all the time. Outside of that, I like Hackler too. Like coming up here at Hackler, I think Chuck does a great job with that course. That's always fun to get on and play as well.
And you shot better than you usually do. So
I did. Yeah. Anytime I'm in the 80s, I shot an 87. So it's like if I can shoot an 87, it's a good day for me.
That's not bad. I've broken 100 one time in my life, so I am on the back end of that. But that's fantastic.
Come play with me. You'll make me feel better about my golf.
I certainly will.
I like that.
That's usually what I add to the group. Let's talk about the team. You guys are 5-1, off to a really good start. Just how do you feel about the group right now and what you guys have been doing early in the season?
Yeah, 5-1 with your one loss coming to a top 25 NC State team on the road. That was a good game. I thought that game actually made us better. We lost that game, but I thought we came away more intelligently than we came into the game. So 5-1, we're controlling what we need to control right now. So we've won games I think we should be winning, and then you lose a game that is a challenging game. So now as we come in, you get ready to play a Jacksonville State team this Saturday, who's a really strong team. And more in line with what you're going to see in the Sun Belt from a competition standpoint. So the biggest thing we talk about this year is part of winning is learning how to win. And so it sounds crazy, but you have to win to learn how to win. And I think you're starting to see that from our young women. They're coming out. We obviously have as talented of a team as we've had since I've been here. And they're coming out, and they're not just winning games, but the way they compete, the way they come in, they expect to win a game. And as funny as it sounds, sometimes that's enough to win a game, is just coming in no, we're not losing this game. You're seeing us make growth in that area. Let's
talk about and kind of dive into that NC State game, because in the past, your first 2 years at Coastal, you padded that schedule non-conference with a lot of top programs, right? Yeah. This year it was just that NC State game, but they're coming off a Final Four appearance. You guys had a really strong showing in Raleigh in a crazy environment, over I think 4,200 people. What was the message to your team, going into an environment like that and playing a team so good like that?
To give them everything we've got, coming into that game, because here we've played four Power Fives just about every year when we got here. We have had the number one strength of schedule in the Sun Belt out of 14 teams back-to-back years. And so you come in this year, it's we still want to play a good schedule, but we don't need to play 4 of those games. We're trying to teach our kids how to win in the non-conference games. So you come in, now you had an NC State with a couple wins this year. Instead of, last year we'd start off with a loss at Duke or Georgia Tech. You come in with a little bit of confidence, and that helps, because now you go to NC State and it's hey guys, no one may believe we can win this game. We believe we can win this game. And here are the things we have to do that. And you see that game at single digits in the third quarter, and then we just had a bad stretch. And so we did a lot of good things in that game. But then you also walk away from, for us to make that jump and beat a team like this, we have to be able to finish a game and play stronger in the end of that third quarter and finish a quarter the way we did not.
You told me a story about Alancia Ramsey in that game going into the free throw line, where they have a promotion where if she misses 2 free throws, they get free Chick-fil-A. She misses the first. comes up and makes the second. Just how impressive was that, especially with all those fans going crazy?
I don't know how many people have been in an education game before, but you go in, education games are always crazy because like the noise level is intense consistently, and there's no pattern, no rhyme or reason to it. It's just like the kids are just cheering. They got Skittles and they're sugared up and they're just having fun. And so it kind of felt like that. All of a sudden, Lancey misses her first free throw and the place goes nuts.
Right.
I'm not aware of the promo, so I'm like, what is it's late in the game. And we're down by, I don't know, 15 or something at this point. And it's as loud as I've heard the gym get all night. And the band is right behind her going crazy. And if she misses that second free throw, everyone in the gym, all 4,200 fans get free Chick-fil-A. And Lancey, to how much she's grown this year, she steps up, blocks everything out, and nails the second free throw. And so moments like that are where you see the growth come. It's like that young woman right there is learning how to be that student athlete we can count on in clutch situations, because as a freshman, that's a tough thing to be in. Now she comes back as a sophomore and she makes that free throw. Because a year ago she misses that, but now she's maturing and she's really doing a good job from the cerebral part of the game. And I thought you saw that in that moment.
A lot of chaos in that gym, and coastal chaos has been the theme for you guys this season. Where's the merch at? I want a T-shirt. I mean, where is that coming out soon? We need some of that.
So we're working on it. I've floated a few ideas towards Chance Miller's way. We're trying to find out what will stick and what won't. So we've got a few T-shirt ideas. So stay tuned. I encourage you to talk with Chance Miller about that. We have a couple ideas. We're waiting to get some approval on to see, hey, can we do this? So he's the boss man. So whatever he says, we're going to go with.
I would wear the heck out of a Coastal Chaos T-shirt, man. That's awesome. But that's been the tagline for your team.
Yeah.
What have you been impressed with as far as the defensive side of the ball and just creating that havoc so far this year?
Well, I think you got to give our coaching staff a lot of credit. Dennis Cox comes in, and I think he's such a brilliant defensive mind. He's really helped us. And then what you're seeing from Shu and DC and Tate, like our staff really comes in every day. When you walk in our court, you don't just see one coach leading the drill. You're going to see 5 coaches getting after it out there. And I think that's been one huge improvement this year is the level of coaching we're getting on the defensive side of the basketball. So our big thing is we want to be able to dictate what we do. In some games we've done a pretty good job. Some games there's some to be desired. We can do a better job. But as we come to the game right now, we're trying to have our defense put us in a situation we give up 60 points or less. We're flying around the floor. Can we get the turnovers in that 20-25 area? Because if you do that, you're generating those extra possessions. And those extra possessions allow us to shoot 35% from the floor. So our goal is if we can get 12 extra possessions a game, and let's say we shoot 35% from the floor, well, you could shoot 45%. We could still win that game by double figures if we get those 12 extra possessions. So that's kind of the method behind what we're chasing. And like I said, we're getting there. It's not perfect right now, but I think when you come watch these young women play, you're going to love the way they play. They fly around. They're intense. They've got really good energy. That's a term you hear us say a lot. But we can keep building on it. We're making progress.
Talking to Chanticleer Clear women's basketball head coach Kevin Pederson on the Chant Pod presented by Revolution Mortgage. Coach, how much of a difference is it to have this coaching staff stay the same, and then you add Dennis Cox in for the second year? After that first year, you had 2 assistants leave, and now you get this new group for a second year.
Yeah, it's huge. We see all the time. Our first year when we got here, that's when Power 5 changed the rule. You can add 2 additional coaches. So we lose 2 of our coaching staff members to a Power 5 team. And so now having the continuity, DC's been here now going into season number 2, Tate season number 2, Shu's been with me as long as I can remember.
Right.
So like the continuity from someone like Shu and her being here, and now the care from them, and then a guy like Dennis Cox, who I've known a long time. So, but in addition to that, Sam, one thing I throw out there is like we have a great coaching staff, but now you bring in veteran players. I think you got to look at the staff, the group we brought in. Jaden Marable, she's got one of the best turnover ratios in the country right now. So you bring a veteran point guard in who's playing like it. Savannah Brooks, who had started for 2 years, led them in scoring. Mallory, Bruce, who'd come in and been one of the best players on UNC Asheville's team. Amelia, what she's doing out there. So when you bring 5 veteran players in like that, I think it really leads to what you're seeing out there as much as a coaching staff.
Take me through your philosophy, because we've had a few players on now, and they say that every assistant coach gets 3 to 4 players that they're kind of in charge of. So what's the philosophy behind that?
So we're big on, especially in the portal world, like you want to make sure you're developing the relationships and you're in touch with your players. So we say all the time, at the end of the day, I'm going to be in touch with everybody at various times. But each coach has 3 or 4 players where it's like, okay, you make sure we don't miss a birthday. You make sure if they're stressed over exams, we know about it. If there's something going on with their family, let's make sure we're giving them some some attention when they need that out there. So it's and we also challenge our coaches. Let's make sure at least once a month you're getting them and you're doing something with them. Whether it's let's take them to Sonic, let's have them to the house. Let's just do something. I want them to feel the family atmosphere. And I think you get a lot of stuff together. Sometimes it's good to break into small groups because you just get a little bit more individual attention, and it helps if there's something going on where you don't miss it as much when you have a specific coach saying, "Hey, I'm really in tune with you," and our staff's done a really good job with that.
Talking about one of those transfer players, Savannah Brooks, coming from Delaware State, and she's been so impressive in the first 6 games. She's led the team in scoring in all but one of those games. The Coker game, she had no points going into halftime and then scored 20 in the second half. Tell me about just what makes her such a difference maker on the court.
Yeah, Savannah, I think Savannah and Kristen are they're two guards who can just explode offensively anytime, and they both give you everything they've got defensively. So when you look at Savannah, I say this on the radio all the time when Kyle's interviewing us, I think what makes Savannah special, if you come out to guard her, she makes a quick read, and it's almost always the right read. Okay, you're up on me. I need to attack. Okay, you're laid off me. I'm going to take that shot. And then on defense, that young woman does not take a second off on defense. She leads us in deflections, leads us in steals, is one of our better rebounders out there. So she's just, you see all the time, you want your player locked in and focused. She's there 24/7. Yeah. But like I said, I think you also have to give Kristen Williams some credit because having a player like Kristen who's so dangerous out there, when you're guarding us, so like we play NC State, they're like, okay, let's put Sanaya Rivers, the best defense player, on Kristen Williams. Well, then second half, now it's going to Savannah. So I think that two-headed monster between those two, and teams who do we try and take away? So I think as great as Savannah's been, and she's off to a phenomenal start, I think Chris and these other wings are just as important because when you guard us, the plan is Mallory can go off, Chris can go off, Savannah can go off, Jay Bird can go off, Amelia can go off, and then Lancey and Riley, Delana. We have so many players who can score, and that's the hope. You can't just key in on one player.
I wouldn't want to guard either of them. I mean, it just seems like just tenacious the way that they play.
Absolutely.
And you really, in this offseason, you really tapped into the transfer portal more than you have in the past. When you're looking at a player in the portal, what are some of the things that you're looking on to make sure that they're going to be a part of this program?
Numbers. That was the biggest thing. When we're looking at the portal, this year's approach was like, we need numbers. We need players who have put up numbers. We don't want to guess if they're going to come in and be successful. We want to know players can come in. We want to know what they're capable of when they get here. With that said, you have to continue to get your freshmen. You look at Dawson and Martina, those are two key parts we're going to build around. Just like we did with Riley, Lancey, and Delana. You've got to have your freshmen that come in. Then you got to sprinkle your portal players in. So it's that fine line of, okay, here are our core building blocks over time who are going to be a big part of what we do. But then here's the experienced players who are ready right now. So is Dawson and Martina learn to come around? You look at how much Riley and Lancey and Delana have grown from a year ago. You need to give those young players time to grow, and that's what those portal players do. We just signed 3 really talented freshmen out of high school that we think are going to come in and really make this team better. But what you don't want is a freshman coming in and being like, if you don't produce, we don't win. Yeah. Because their growth. We saw all the time, freshmen need to have that growth portfolio mentality. You have to have room to make mistakes. And we may go here, but then high risk, high reward, we may get back up here. Whereas the portal kids are the ones who have to come in and be the rocks like what Jay Bird's doing. Jade Marable's come in, and last year assist turnover ratio needed improvement. You look at what Jaden's doing. You look at what Chris is doing, what Savannah's doing. Their 3 assist turnover ratios are driving us, and even Dawson as a freshman, where assist turnover ratio right now is right about that 1-to-1 ratio, which a lot of teams don't get to in a season.
You're talking, so Jaden Marable's nickname is Jay Bird?
We call her Jay Bird. Jay Bird or JM, depends on the day.
Nice. All right, cool. I love the nicknames. How much have you had to change just your philosophies as a coach, especially being at the Division II level when it was traditionally bring in your freshmen, develop them for 4 years, and they're gone. Yeah. And now it's a mixture of, like you said, bringing in those numbers and bringing in those established players, but also making sure that you do have somewhat of a farm system, right? And getting those players to develop.
Yeah, I don't think that's changed a lot. I think there's some things that have changed, but I don't think how you recruit is one of them, because even at the D2 level, you have to have, we were fortunate to win a lot of championships, and the key with all those championship teams is stability. A coaching staff that stays together, a team that's built around those 4-year players because you look at Riley and Lancey and Delana, what they learned last year, now we're taking a big step this year. Those 3 are going to be a huge key to what we do. When they're juniors, we're expecting them to be 3 of the better players in the conference. Yeah. And so, the portal allows you to do that. So you've got to have that balance of sprinkling in, here's our growth, here's our steady, and here's our potential, but then here's our rock solid, ready to go. But I'll tell you this, Sam, I think the one difference is, coming from D2 to D1, you go on that foreign tour, so many good things come out of that foreign tour. But I think the thing we have to keep in mind is these young women have been working really hard. To get rid of that foreign tour, they had to get a system in quickly. We're working harder than a lot of teams do in the summer. And so now it's at the Division II level, Division II athletes get the summers off. So you're working, everyone's working, but it's a different level of work. So now I think there's that fine line of, as we get ready for next summer, when this season ends, how much do you work your kids in the summer? Because I think that's one thing you have to really pay attention to at the Division I levels. These young women work really hard, and what's the right amount of work to get in where their bodies are still fresh? So I think that's a big thing you have to look at.
You mentioned Riley Stack, and I want to touch on her because, again, she's stacking up the blocks. She leads the Sun Belt in blocks per game.
Yeah.
She's top 15 in the country. How much of it for her is just her natural, God-given height, but also just her ability to be in the right place at the right time?
Yeah, I've seen plenty of players with God-given height who don't block shots like Riley does. So I think so much of it is she does a great job. You teach all the time, and it helps. The best thing for young women to do is play multiple sports. One of the best things Riley Stack did was she played volleyball. So I love players. I ask my kids, have you played softball? Have you played volleyball? Because if you played volleyball, you learn how to high point a ball. You learn how to get up and block shots. If you played softball, you learn how to field and get down in a stance and then be able to make that pass we need to sometimes with one hand. So that there's different aspects that translate versus if you just play basketball all the time, you're lacking some of those cross-training skills that make you a better basketball player. And that's what you see in Riley Stack. She's got the time, and she's also got the pedigree. Her father was an unbelievably talented basketball player. And so Riley comes in with that basketball pedigree, but she knows how to block. You don't swat to block shots. Everyone thinks you have to swing, and Riley's got to figure it out. You get as long as you can, and you use your hands and your wrist to block shots. And that's why she's led the league. She led it as a freshman. She's leading again as a sophomore. Having Riley Stack on the floor always makes us a better team.
Some of the verticals on those volleyball players are just insane. So I can see the conversion of how that kind of translates to the basketball.
I was joking with Lauren Malone the other day. I saw her. I said, hey, any chance you want to come and just be a defensive specialist for us?
Right.
Because every time I watch her play volleyball, she's so athletic. I'm like, maybe we bring you over to play a little basketball with us.
That was right after she was on the Chant Pod. That was right after her interview, which is awesome. Let's talk about your coaching journey because you've made several different stops in the state of South Carolina. First off, you were a student manager at Clemson from 94 to 99.
Yeah.
Was it tough to get into the coaching game after that as someone who didn't play in college? Because you see all these coaches that, obviously have playing experience, maybe at the school that they coached. You were a manager, so kind of take me through how you got into it.
So I think it's a gift, and it can be a burden at times. So when you come in as a manager, I think the gift it gave me was you're there to serve. Like your job is you're a part of the team. The gift I got back was I'm part of a very special group of young men, and you're part of a team, and you're there every day. You're putting the time and work in. And when I got to basketball, I thought it was just how athletic are you, how skilled are you, how much can you score. Being a manager taught me two things. Okay, it's not about you. It's about everybody but you. And when you learn it's about everyone but you, my job was my first year. I'm making Gatorade. I'm cleaning the floor. I'm holding a towel and a basketball every practice. I'm running the clock. And that was my contribution. Then as you progress, I was blessed to have a staff with Rick Barnes and Larry Scheid and all those coaches, Matt Driscoll, who's killing it in North Florida right now. And I was blessed they poured into me. And they said, here's an opportunity. Let's get involved with some film, get involved with some recruiting and some scouting. And so I was able to learn. So it goes from you start off just serving people, and then you get up there and you start serving in a different way at a higher level. And so, but then you graduate, and one thing I'm trying to tell these players is you have to be able to have someone tell you no. I was rejected for so many jobs. I applied for every GA position in the country. And if you get one yes for maybe 100 no's. There was a lot of no's.
Yeah.
And to get into it, I received a phone call. Matt Driscoll finds out there's a Division II head coach. Doug Novak had just taken the men's job at Anderson, and he needed a coach. And so I go meet. Driscoll sets up. I meet with Doug, and Doug says, "Hey, this would be great. I'd love to have you." He said, "The catch is I can't pay you. So if you can volunteer, we can do this." And I was blessed to have a wife who could support us and pay the bills. And I just volunteered for a whole year. And I think by doing that, once again, you're serving. And when you're serving, you're saying, hey, listen, this is what's really important to me. You don't come and you never act like you're not getting paid. Like, I don't know if those athletes to this day knew I wasn't getting paid because you just showed up and you did your job. And I learned so much from that. And one, you have to love it. Mm-hmm. And so once I realized how much I loved it, I was willing to do it for free. It just kind of spirals into every day you get to do something you love. And I was really fortunate.
It starts off doing those humbling jobs that kind of help you get the experience there and really know the entire ins and outs of the program. So you get that Anderson job as the assistant on the men's side. Halfway through your tenure, you get hired as the women's basketball head coach while still doing the men's job. How do you manage both?
And my wife is 7 months pregnant. So the athletic director comes to me in December. And ironically, we're going into year 3. And she'd give me that talk. She's like, okay, you're not making hardly any money, and I'm pregnant, so you might need to go get a big boy job. And so we knew it might have been my last year in college basketball. I might have had to shift out to go take a high school job, or which I was fine with. That was the initial plan. And so when the athletic director comes to me, it's talk about, I believe God opens doors at the right time, but you have to do something when he opens that door. And so the door opened. Here's a head coaching job. I'm 25 years old. I'm not ready to be a head coach. And he says, here it is. We're going to support you. We're going to give you room to grow. And so I'm really thankful, because at 25, I was passionate. I worked really hard, but at 25, you can't possibly know everything you need to know to be a head coach. And so I was really blessed to have a group of young women who worked really hard for us and gave me room to grow, have a support staff at Anderson University that allowed me to learn as I went. But I'll say this, because it was hard at first. I'm like, I don't want to leave the men's side. Ended up being the best decision I made. I loved coaching the women. As soon as I got in there, I'm like, I can't see myself doing anything else. And we were blessed to have a lot of success, win the league, get a number one seed in the NCAA tournament, and just kind of go on to maybe 15 NCAA tournaments in like the next 17, 18 years.
The best stat that I love giving every single Chanticleer home opener is the last loss. And Coastal's last home opening loss was to your Anderson team back in 2005. I love saying it every year. Obviously, then you go on to Lander and have a ton of success there in 17 years. What was the formula? I mean, what clicked there where you were like, this is working and this is what we have to roll with?
Yeah, I'll say this too. Like their last loss, my first Division I win. I joke all the time. My first Division I win came against Coastal Carolina.
It's crazy.
So that was crazy when you put that stat up there. But I think when we got to Lander, same thing. I'm 29 years old when I take the Lander job. One thing we figured out is, your defense has to lead the offense. I don't think you can be great at both sides of the ball. And I've always said, okay, I'm an offensive guy. I want to be really good. We led the nation in scoring 2 different times, led our league in scoring most seasons. And so I think we started finding, okay, here's our system of what we do. And a lot of it, even though I'm an offensive guy, that defense drives what we want to do. We make people uncomfortable. So I think for us, what stuck was, let's have a system. Let's be unpredictable. Let's do stuff. When you play, say, maybe we're going to throw a triangle and 2 out. Maybe you're going to see something you haven't seen all year. Like, let's not be stuck or married to just one idea. Let's be as flexible as we can be. The game is always changing. Let's make sure we are always changing. And I think that mentality, along with the experience you gain over the years, when you start seeing, by this point, I've coached 700 games as a head coach. And so along that way, you've seen, I hate to say you've seen everything, but you've seen a lot. And it prepares you for now when you get to this level. It's like, okay, I haven't seen a lot of stuff here that we didn't see at the Division II level. Because D2, trust me, you're seeing some crazy things. They may not guard someone. They may leave someone on this end of the floor. They may press up and down. They may trap in uncanny situations. So all those things lead to you being a more effective head coach.
Talking with third-year Chanticleer head coach Kevin Pederson on the Chant Pod, presented by Revolution Mortgage. Can you go back and through all your years of coaching, can you go back to like, say, 2012 and be like, yeah, I remember that year very clearly, or like 2013, just like random years and kind of go back and explain what happened?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Like I probably couldn't tell you the name of someone I met 3 days ago, but I can tell you, I can talk about games from 2011, 2012. I remember every season very well.
So when you got the call to be offered to be the Coastal head coach a couple years ago, what was the feeling and where were you when you received that call?
So it's funny. I was actually at my children's apartment in Clemson. And I was actually getting ready to play golf with my brother and his son and my son.
Big golf guy.
And it's funny, though. I wish I could play as much as it sounds like I play. But once you get to see, you don't get to play. It's rare. But our season was over. We'd had a really good season. So we were taking a little time off to go play some golf. And the call comes in. And I'll tell you this. We vacationed here for, I don't know, maybe 15 years. I can remember touring this building and walking by this office and being like, man, I want to be here someday. Like it was just a job. Coach Hugh will tell you, I told her when she came to work for me in 2011, I said, there's 2 jobs that I'm going to get one of those jobs, and we're going to work until we do. And this was one of them. Because I think Coastal Carolina, it's not only a great place to live, it's an incredible university. It's a beautiful place to be. And I think there's everything you need here to take this program and do something they've never done before.
And talk to me about that relationship you had with Coach Sue, bringing her on in 2011. And I believe you coached her when she was a player. I mean, just
first kid I signed her a scholarship.
It's incredible the relationship you guys have. I mean, just how cool is that to be able to have her on your staff?
It's amazing. Like it's just so to have someone, and Coach Hugh, if you know Coach, you know what an unbelievable person she is. So when the first person you signed her a scholarship, and I was 25 and young and dumb and crazy, and so you get someone who's gone through the growing pains with you. She's seen all different 50 shades of crazy. So, and now she watches you mature, and so she gives these players a different aspect because she's seen as a player. She's seen as an assistant coach. So now when these players come into the office, she can relate to our recruits, their parents, our student athletes in a way that no one in our program can relate to. And that's just invaluable. And then you get someone like Nicole. I always say the number one thing with her is if loyalty was a currency, I'm the richest man in the world because Coach Shu is the most loyal person you could ever ask for to work on your staff. And so when maybe someone's questioning, if there's one person I know is never questioned what we're doing, I know it's her. And I also know we have the relationship where if we do something, she'll be like, hey, Kevin, let's look at this a different way. She's comfortable to talk to me in a way, and she knows I'm going to hear what she has to say. But you can't put a price on having someone like that in your program.
And she let me and our producer, Josh, have some of the post-practice lunch one day. It was a couple weeks ago. I mean, it's fantastic.
She's going to feed anyone around. She's good about that. Her husband, Steven, too. If you meet her husband, Steven, like, they love their food. They're going to eat well, but they're going to share their food.
And I've heard for 3 years now that she cooks a mean Thanksgiving meal.
She does. She absolutely does.
So year 3 now at Coastal Carolina, and you mentioned the first year, you felt like you guys overachieved, right? Didn't really come in with the expectations and really had a strong season. Year 2 was a little bit below that. So now in year 3, I mean, is there any added pressure to you? Kind of how do you feel in this third season now that you have all your own players? Everyone that you have is somebody that you recruited.
Yeah, so I don't know if I'd say pressure. I'd say it's more curiosity because we come in year 1. We were picked low in the league. They'd won 4 conference games in 2 years combined before we got here, and we go 500. We win 9 games. We went at Troy. We beat Old Dominion. We beat JMU. Beat 3 of the top 4 teams. And then you come into year 2 and you're like, we might have overachieved a little. Those young women worked so hard for us, and what Aaron Freeman and Deasia Richardson and Asia Blunt, what they did for our team, Miriam Ricarte, like they did so they all achieved at such a high level. And so you come to year 2, and it was a little bit of a step back. You know, we come in and we don't have the year we're hoping to have. But now you come into year 3, and like we've talked about, every player on this roster now is ours. So we tell people all the time, if you don't like someone on this team, that we own that. That's 100% us. We brought these players in. We've had some time to start developing a culture. And we really feel like so when I say the curiosity, we feel like we're turning a corner and we're going in the right direction. And we feel like we're recruiting well. Like the 3 young women we referenced earlier, we feel like we've signed really good players. And the job our staff is doing, what we brought in a year ago, the talent we've been able to bring since we got here, we feel like we're building a program that's not just going to improve, but it's going to be capable of sustaining success.
Something that I've been curious about from a head coach perspective is the connections that you've made. Who are some of the coaches that, maybe at the higher level, people that you've just maintained a relationship with through the years at your different stops? Who have been some of those influential coaches that have made an impact in your life?
It's funny, some of the most influential, one of them is a soccer coach. So when I got my job at Lander, there was the men's soccer coach his office was right across the hall from me. No matter what time I came in, he was there. Mm-hmm. When I left, he was there. Like he worked so hard. And then you start watching the culture he builds, and he was winning the conference just about every year in soccer. And he was a big time player. He played professionally. And just the way he carried himself, and the way I watched him interact with people, I learned a lot from him. And he's been a guy to this day who's been a big mentor to me. And then I look at some of my other friends. So one of my best friends, Drew Richards, is the men's coach at UNC Pembroke. And he's a guy, I think sometimes head coach, you have to have another head coach. Because as much as I love our assistant coaches, it's just different as a head coach. And sometimes you need to have another head coach to talk to. And we're kind of buddies in that sense where I'll call him. He's like, man, I'm dealing with the same thing. Are you dealing with this? I'm like, yes, I'm dealing with the same thing. So, and he's also a great basketball mind. So having people like that, Kim Stevens is someone else. I've known Kim Stevens for a long time. Kim Caldwell now, I'm sorry. I was blessed to spend a little bit of time with her in the summer to kind of pick her brain on some things. So there's so many people. The Fairfield staff, we talk with them. They were incredible to spend some time with us as well. There's so many coaches in this business because one thing we're open to is you're always learning. Like we talked about earlier, you have to be evolving and adapting and learning. And so I've been blessed to have a lot of people like those names I just mentioned who will share their system. Because some coaches are like, I don't want to tell you what I'm doing. And I've been blessed to have people around me who will say, hey, yeah, this is what I do. How can I help you?
That's the thing I always think about because obviously it's competition on the court, but there's only, like you said, there's only a select amount of people that know the struggles that you're going through and the successes that you go through. And it's, kind of interesting to relate to other programs like that.
Oh, it helps. It's just, at the end of the day, like I always remind myself, when something frustrates me, I'm like, man, everybody's dealing with this. Like I'm not unique. I'm not, it's not like the world's against me, man. Everyone's dealing, if something's bothering me, it's bothering everybody in the country.
Yeah.
But then you have to remind yourself, okay, but man, I've got some special stuff that not everybody in the country has. Like we've got a group of young women who shows up, they don't make excuses. Like they work hard, they have good attitudes out there. So I think it's easy in life to worry about the things that bother you. And I always try and check myself and be like, okay, what am I thankful for? I'm thankful for the coaching staff. I'm thankful for the young women we get to work with. I'm thankful for the recruits who buy into our program. I'm thankful for for this administration who's coming in and is really supporting what we're trying to do. I'm thankful for Matt Hogue for giving me this job and believing in me. So I think you always have to, every time you want to complain, I think you got to replace with like, okay, what am I thankful for? And there's so many things to be thankful for to be the head coach at Coastal Carolina.
Talking with Chanticleer women's basketball head coach Kevin Pederson on the Chant Pod presented by Revolution Mortgage. Coach, before this, we were talking about coastal football. I mean, how in tune are you with the other sports around campus?
Man, well, Tim Beck is a friend of mine, and so like him, Justin, and I, we get to go every year. We travel down to Florida, and we do our little conference meetings. And so you get to spend time with Tim and get to meet his wife Tamara, and you get Justin down there, and it's such a fun time to come together. You just get to know each other kind of outside of this. And so like Justin getting his 1-point win last night, like we're so excited for him. Tim just destroying Georgia State on the road to get the bowl game. I don't know, you root for everybody at Coastal Carolina, but I do get to spend a little bit more time with those two.
What are the sports that you're kind of tuning into and watching on a day-to-day?
I'm a diehard Orioles fan.
Yeah.
I'm a diehard Baltimore Orioles fan. Anyone who knows me knows I'm a huge Orioles fan. So I grew up in the D.C. area. So Baltimore Orioles are my favorite team. The Washington Commanders, I still like to call them the Redskins sometimes, but the Commanders, I grew up singing the Hail to the Redskins, and they teach you that when you're in elementary school. Then the Capitals have been really good, and then the Wizards, I still like to call them the Bullets, not so good. But I'm a huge baseball fan. When I'm not coaching basketball, I'm everything into the Baltimore Orioles, and we're finally good again. So huge baseball fan.
See, that's why we're friends.
Yes.
We both have a love for watching baseball.
Yes.
When you're watching basketball,
Yeah.
are you, just as a fan, right? You're either at a game, or I'm sure that doesn't happen too often, but you're watching it on TV. Are you watching it differently? Because when I watch sports, I'm paying attention to the broadcasters.
Yeah, it's no question. There's times like when I go home, and of course my whole family loves basketball, so I'll go home and be like, hey, Duke's playing North Carolina tonight. I'm like, man, I just watched film for like 7 hours. Can we watch like Grey's Anatomy or something like that?
Right, take a break.
I need to flip the switch off. Yeah. So it's funny. We talk with our players a lot of times, and our student athletes are great to give me some, hey, I'm watching this, try watching this on Netflix. So I think sometimes when you get home, that's one of the challenges. When you are a coach, no matter what sport you're coaching, it's easy to leave that switch on the whole time. And I think you have to really, in fairness to your family and stuff, you have to find a way to switch it off. So there's definitely a balance when it comes to that. I think that's why I like baseball, because when I watch baseball, I can flip it off. Mm-hmm. But if there's basketball, my kids, when they were playing youth basketball, I remember my daughter, she'd get in the car, she'd be like, Dad, nope. I need dad, not coach, right? Can you just be my dad? Don't be my coach. So there's that fine line to flipping the switch off and just being an everyday Joe, I guess, when it comes to sports.
How supportive has your family been just through the many stops that you've made, and just how great are they?
Amazing. I cannot. My family is my energy source. So I tell them all the time, that's why I love when my kids come back. It's like I feel like my energy level just filled up again. So, and my wife, God bless her, she does that all the time. So like you can't do this job without a family that supports you and buys in, because holidays, we're working on most holidays. You're traveling, like on Christmas, you're going recruiting, and there's always something you're doing that can take away from family. So I've been blessed. My family goes with me. Well, Shu does a great job with Joe and Kara. She brings her kids with them. So anytime we can kind of combine the two, it's so important to have that family staff. But every step throughout my career, my wife has been there. My children have been there. I can't tell you what that means. I could not do this without them.
So let's talk about the next one up on Saturday, Coastal and Jacksonville State, from right here at the HTC Center.
Yeah.
What are we going to be seeing? What have you prepared for, and what are we going to be expecting in that game?
So first off, I was out with Chauncey the other day. We were passing flyers. He was giving some candy canes out, trying to get fans to come to the game. So hopefully everyone's going to come to this game. And I do need to drop some knowledge on you, because we did learn this. I believe it is a proven fact. Sure, it's on Wikipedia somewhere. If not, we'll go put it on there. If you attend our game against Jacksonville State and you cheer really hard for the Chanticleers this Saturday, if you were going to get a B, you're going to get an A now. So I'm pretty sure that's a well-known fact, that cheering hard for your women's basketball team is going to help your exams next week.
That is huge.
Yeah.
I've never heard of a deal like that. That's incredible.
I feel like it's going to happen.
How impressed have you been just in the few home games that we've had? I've noticed it from the broadcasting spot. There's been a more lively crowd and more people coming in, and just how much has that boosted your team?
Oh yeah, that's the Chance Miller effect. That's something when he came in, he let all of us know, hey, we're gonna improve your game atmosphere, and you're seeing it. We're seeing record crowds, you're seeing a better atmosphere. So, but more, you're seeing intentional efforts, and I think that's all you can ask for as a coach, is you appreciate people supporting your programs. Let's get them in there. Like we've said, we think we have an exciting team to watch. But it's more exciting when you fill up. If we can pack the HTC and you get that, say all the time, like give me that aggressive crowd. Like we don't need sitting down. Like let's be loud. Let's get into the game. And you're seeing that this year. And it helps not us, but what it does for student athletes. When they're talking, they talk about those things. They know if a professor's in the stands. They know how big the crowd is. Like it really makes a difference to our student athletes.
We want that education day level of energy.
Oh yes, absolutely, absolutely.
Well, Coach, really appreciate the time. Cannot wait to see this game on Saturday.
Thanks, Sam. We're looking forward to it. Chant's up.
Man, Coach P is always really fun to talk to. He's got a really good perspective on the game and just carries a ton of energy with him wherever he goes. So like we talked about, his team squares up with Jacksonville State on Saturday afternoon at 1 Eastern time. It'll be on ESPN+, and I'll be talking to you. The Gamecocks come in 4-2, so it should be an absolute showdown at HTC. We flipped to the other side of the court, and men's basketball squeezed a 58-57 victory over Campbell on the road on Wednesday. Noah Amenhauser had his breakout game with a team leading 20 points, and the Chants grabbed their first road victory this season. Next up, they'll renew an old Big South rivalry with Winthrop. I've heard so much about how those games were absolutely hectic back in the day, and this one will be at Rock Hill at 7 o'clock Saturday night as the Chants look for their third win in a row. Chanticleer football became bowl eligible for a fifth straight season with a dominating 48-27 win over Georgia State in Atlanta last Saturday. The Chants finished the season 6-6 and will find their bowl game destination this Sunday. Also, with the season wrapping up, a few Chants were recognized with all Sunbelt awards. Defensive back Matthew McDoom and defensive lineman Clev Lubin were named to the all Sunbelt first team, with offensive lineman Nick Del Grande, running back Braden Bennett, linebacker Shane Bruce, and nickel Jawan Powell were all recognized as all Sunbelt honorable mentions. So congratulations to those Chants, and we can't wait to see Coastal in a bowl game wherever they may go for a fifth straight year. Let's call that an episode. Thanks again to Coach P for stepping on and talking about his team. Look out for Coach out there on the golf course once the season ends, and he's not out there on the recruiting trail for the next great Coastal team. Have a great weekend, everybody. I'm Sam Wiederhaft signing off. Chants up.